Welcome to episode 2001 of the Cabral Concept. We're here with one of our Conversations with Cabral episodes where we will be interviewing Niurka, who is one of the foremost visionaries and motivational speakers in the world. Niurka has been inspiring and empowering people for over 2 decades. Success Magazine refers to her as a communication and influence expert and a dynamic speaker with sharp wit and inspiring stories. Niurka customizes each presentation to the speaker's audience and their learning style. She's a master speaker who powerfully presents tools and strategies to awaken consciousness and inspire participants to take focused action to realize their next level of success, fulfillment, and contribution. Her presentations make a profound and lasting impact. She's delivered keynotes for distinguished audiences such as Success Magazine, Emory University, Luxury Real Estate, Mercedes-Benz, Marriott, Berkshire Hathaway, Power of Success, the Anthony Robbins Companies, that's Tony Robbins, Prudential, and the most powerful women in networking marketing group. She has shared the stage with many of the finest speakers in the world, including Anthony Robbins, Deepak Chopra, Brian Tracy, Marianne Williamson, Bob Proctor, John Maxwell, John Ossoff, Dennis Waitley, and Phil Town, just to name a few. You are in for a real treat today. Niurka is going to give you a lot of the actual formula and setup she uses to help people work through the roadblocks and obstacles that are holding them back from achieving their best life. It was a real pleasure to be able to speak with Niurka today. I have no doubt you are going to love this conversation. Take care, enjoy the show, and let us know what you thought.
Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Cabral Concept. Great to be here with you today. Excited to get into our guest expert interview of the week, or more of a conversation, and that is with Niurka. Niurka, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here with you and with everyone.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And I really wanted to bring you onto the show. You definitely have a unique message that I love being able to watch your videos and see you on social media. And that's really about inspiring people to live their best life, but through real world actions, I like to say. Meaning, like, there's a behavioral science that people can follow, that if they follow this, they can end up living the life of their dreams and achieving their goals. And so this is such a broad field, and I know there's so much we could talk about, but how did you first get into this field? And then we'll start to go into some real action plans that people can begin to take place in their own life.
Well, how do you get into this field? Is that the question?
Well, yeah. It's so basically, like, for a lot of times natural health practitioners, no one's at 8 years old saying, "Oh, one day I want to become a naturopathic doctor." They're typically not saying that. There's oftentimes a way that we kind of move into this field for ourselves or for someone in our family or whatever it might be. I'm just wondering if the same happened for you, or you've always felt this way, like you wanted to be able to help people and inspire them and transform their lives.
I think for many of us, we've had big breakthroughs in these areas that have been life-changing. I know that's the case for me. And when you go through your own life-changing experience and you go, wow, this is absolutely possible, then that is sparks a passion, sparks a deep enthusiasm, sparks a higher desire to share. And the joy that comes from seeing people have their breakthroughs and living their best life, that's what sparks my inspiration every day. And that's really what called me to the deeper transformational work.
Yeah, that's great. And that is the same. Again, for all, I think, the service-based fields and the natural health fields, and certainly what you do is natural health-based in terms of the mindset and how that affects the body as well, which we'll get into, that it's wanting to be of service to other people. And you've seen what it's done for you or someone in your family, and you're saying, listen, not enough people know about this. Because for the most part, this is an outlier-based field. It's like, this is not what the majority of people do in the world. But if more people did it, I mean, what an amazing place the world would be, or even more amazing. So I know personally that you've worked with Tony Robbins, and you've been one of his top, if not his top, corporate-based trainer. I'd love to learn more about exactly what that is before really venturing on your own and doing many life-transforming, immersive-based events that we'll certainly be getting into towards the end of the show as well. So what was your development within this field, NLP and neuroscience and all the other education that you've had?
I was thinking about it the other day, and it's been 21 years since I launched my company. So it's definitely been a long journey. And before that, I worked side by side with Tony Robbins from 95 to 2000. And at that time, I began the journey bringing transformational work into businesses, into companies. And a lot of times people were bringing me in because they wanted to take their results and their sales and their numbers to the next level. And then they discovered very, very quickly that it was a deeper inner work of really liberating all team members from their own doubts or insecurities or fears or things that were showing up that were taking them out of alignment, taking them out of the cohesion of working in a unified way as a team. And that's where the work really began for me. And I traveled during that time. I remember I lived in 16 different cities over a 5-year period. And I would go in and I would lead the training with these corporations. And I was totally passionate about bringing these higher principles into businesses. And then from there, it was time for the next adventure. And so it is with us in life. I call it a neogenesis. In our community, we call it neogenesis, which is really time for a new beginning, where you know that it's time for whatever is the next stage of your journey and your evolution. And that inspired me to launch my company with the vision of inspiring global transformation through inner evolution. That by each person having their own unique breakthrough and living in alignment with their unique purpose, their unique talents and gifts, and powerfully bringing those forth into the world in a way that created value and in a way that brought their own unique creative expression, that the world would elevate as we all live this way. So that's what sparked the journey. And then really for me, it's been a devout study and practice, researching what are the different methodologies, what are the different techniques and strategies from a number of different fields, and then bringing them together to be able to interrupt patterns that do not serve and literally create new ways. And I go like this with my hand. If you're listening to the podcast, you can't see it, but I have this vision of creating new neural pathways, new ways of thinking, of being, of communicating, that are in alignment with your highest expression of who you really are, for all of us, our highest inspiration. So my passion is creating experiences that spark that, and creating experiences that uncover the obstacles to that, what obstructs that, so that we can bring those obstacles to light and shine the light of illumination, shine the light of greater awareness in such a way that allows the integration of new insights and new learnings that, once integrated, allow old patterns to naturally dissolve, not because you're trying to change it and you're going to get it, but because it happens in light of a greater level of understanding, deeper understanding.
I mean, I love the term neogenesis as well. I don't know if I've ever heard it used in that way before, but it's something that I see in my own life. Every 3 years to maybe 5 years, I see almost like a stagnation where I start to get uncomfortable, not necessarily unhappy, but uneasy with saying like, okay, is this where I want to stop? And for me, it's not moving out of my field. It's saying, what else can we do? What else can be done? And hopefully at a greater level, because now I have 3 to 5 more years of education, right? I've learned more from the hundreds of thousands of people we would have worked with and seen them go through programs. There's a lot of data. And there's also changes in technology as well. Like for me now, I can add a lot more of the wearable-based devices and software technologies and apps. So it's like, not necessarily, I think, and for other people's lives as well, whatever they might be doing, relationships or, their career, it doesn't have to be radical changes. It could be leveling up. Right. And that's how I see it. It's like, okay, like you don't need to like blow up everything. Some people may need to, but sometimes it's just like, okay, you're doing pretty well, but it's not satisfying. It's not where you want to be and you feel like you have more potential. Do you help people? And I love the obstacle part too. Do you help them first realize the obstacles? Because so many people saying like, yeah, I want a great life. I just don't even know how to get there. What's the step pattern that you use in order to tease out what those obstacles might be to achieving that great life?
And it depends on how we begin that transformational process. But usually I'll ask people to think of an area in their life that by they having that quantum jump or even that improvement that you described over time, like what's one area in your life that by you improving that one area would inspire you, would give you a sense of greater joy, a greater sense of fulfillment? What is that? And that will become the portal for our work. And then I will guide them through a process of uncovering what have been the deeper beliefs and core values that have been driving their life in that area up until now, based on what's been showing up. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times somebody will tell you what they think their values are. And they'll say, well, here's my values. But you look at their results and you see what's showing up in their life, where they invest their time, energy, resources, and that's going to reflect back to their values. So we go through a very profound process that is a cathartic process to really uncover what are these deeper subconscious values and beliefs. Mm-hmm. And that's very illuminating, because a lot of times you'll see somebody that has a vision of what they're inspired to move toward, but sometimes it's like they'll take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and they're kind of in this place. So what is the root cause of that? I always love to get very curious and go, okay, well, what's causing that? And often what's happening is there's a incongruence even with their own subconscious values. Yes. So the first question I ask is, what's been showing up? And if there's something that's been showing up that isn't serving them, are you ready to let it go? Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorite questions to ask, because sometimes you'll see people will have a part of them that wants to let it go, but another part of them that's holding on.
I've seen the same. And also with, or maybe getting to where you want and then coming back to your set point. Like you get there for a little bit up and then you're right back. And that's always interesting, because to me, that means that, again, you haven't released those more dominant subconscious beliefs that you have of yourself or the world around you.
Exactly. So what is it that brings someone back to that particular standard? I remember a conversation I had with Tony Robbins when I was 19 years old, and I asked him, what's the one thing I could do? And I was 19 and on the edge of my seat. And I'm like, what's one thing I could do that would take every area of my life to the next level? And I remember he pointed at me and he said, raise your standards. And at first I was kind of like, what are you talking about? Raise my standards. And I had justifications, but he described it as a thermostat, how we have these subconscious standards that are thermostats. So that was a
that's one of my favorites.
Heartwarming moment.
Yeah. And I mean, that's, I'm trying to think of the exact term right now. Is like, you don't get what you want, you get what you need, or you have to have something like that.
I think that's like, the Rolling Stones, right?
yeah, that might. All right, so that was different. The different quote there. No, but it's basically like, listen, if you see yourself as a billionaire, let's say, you could lose it all and you'll become a billionaire again, because that's your identity, and that's your
identity.
Yes. So what you hold as your identity is ultimately not what you want, but it's what you will become. Would you say that's true?
Yes, because it's like your identity becomes this strong internal need to be and to live consistent with that sense of self. So it's amazing to see what people will do to meet the identity of how they believe themselves and who they believe themselves to be. So you could change a behavior, but if that behavior isn't consistent with the person's identity, the behavior goes back. So that's why when you do the deeper transformational work, it not only transforms your day-to-day actions and your habits, right? And your behaviors. It actually transforms your own deeper belief system, and what you deem to be most important begins to shift and change, and how you perceive yourself, which is, again, back to your own identity.
So when you're working with someone, what are the techniques that you've had, you said 21 years or more than 21 years to kind of hone in on technique? And that's why for me, like, again, I remember being in my early 20s and I knew it all in my early 20s. But then somehow I've learned more over the years. But what I've realized is that you need a good 10 to 15 years of working in a field to really get it. And that's just because you then have so much data of working with people in the real world that you can say, regardless of what the textbooks say, this is actually what works. And so you've had time now. You've worked with hundreds of thousands of people. I'm sure you've studied dozens of different types of techniques, maybe more. What are the ones that you see yourself going back to over and over to help people the most? Like NLP, like I'm getting at those types of things, hypnotherapy.
It's
NLP,
really a combination. It's really a combination thereof. I've created like my own unique blend after doing it for so long. I find that one is the context that you create for the transformational process is very important. So consciously creating a context that supports rapid intentional change. I find guiding someone to become clear on what specifically it is that they want to change. It's amazing. Sometimes there's even a lack of complete clarity. So as far as a technique, it's like, okay, what do you want? What's the problem? And how is that a problem? And really isolating not just the problem as I'm looking and as I'm listening to someone, I'm uncovering how they are storing the problem subconsciously. So the underlying structure of what they're experiencing subconsciously in their internal map of the world, the internal representations that have pictures, sounds, feelings, internal dialogue. There's a structure to that. And the moment I can elicit the structure, then I know that I can loosen that, or guide them to loosen that old structure, to blow the boundaries out of that old way of thinking and being, and create a new empowering way instead. And that's maybe like get a little technical, but one of the things is isolating what that is. And then another thing that I consistently go to that I find it's a difference that makes the difference in ensuring that guiding a transformational process works. And if someone's hearing it for the first time, you're like, what do you mean by guiding a transformational process? Like guiding somebody to let go of doubt and step into confidence, or guiding someone to let go of, fear or insecurity and step into clarity and courage. Those types of shifts. One is that I'm very thorough to guide a group or whoever I'm leading to transcend secondary gain as a prerequisite before I even begin guiding a transformational process. So what does that mean? Secondary gain is when somebody is holding on to something because they're subconsciously linking some form of benefit. So part of them wants to change, but another part of them is like, hold on, I'm holding on to that because it's giving me a benefit. And unless there's absolute alignment with the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, that is a prerequisite for the integration to happen. So one technique, you asked me, like, what's a go-to technique? Transcending secondary gain is a go-to technique. Releasing negative emotions stored subconsciously is usually where I go next. The deeper emotions. Anger, sadness, fear, guilt, shame. These cloud the mind. They cloud vision. They cloud reason. They cloud people from taking inspired action. So I like to wipe those out.
So could you give us an example? So I'm familiar and I've spoken about a lot of the techniques that you spoke about, not in the exact way, because this is not my expertise or field. However, could you give us an example of the secondary gain? I think I know what you're talking about. I understand, I think a little bit about how you're holding it back, but where have you seen it happen in people's life that ultimately it holds them back?
Definitely. And it could be personally and it could be professionally. It could be personally, they want to let go of weight and be lean, healthy, and fit, but subconsciously they're holding on to the weight because it subconsciously keeps them safe or protected in some way, shape, or form. Consciously they want to go out and achieve huge success, and make financial abundance and make a lot of money, but subconsciously they have fear of loss or disconnection from family members or people that they love. So it's usually there's a linking of safety and security. That's usually where it begins.
Yes.
Of holding on to a pattern that isn't serving you because the subconscious mind's going, wait a minute, that keeps me safe. Like, don't take that away. That keeps me secure. Now, here's the awesome news, though. Is that the moment the subconscious mind gets, there's a new way, a better way, a healthy way, an honoring way, a new creative way to meet the highest positive intention of that secondary gain. In other words, we're not just taking something away, we're going to find something better, something better and cooler and more honoring and healthful to replace it with. Then the transformation becomes easy. It's just you've been going in that direction for so long. So if someone's been driving to work and it takes them 25 minutes and they've been doing it forever, even if there's another path that only takes 12 minutes, but you haven't taken it before, it might seem like, oh, that's really tough, but it's really not. It's just you've been used to going that old pathway. But now they're here with you and me, and we're all listening. We go, wait a minute, I want to take the 12-minute route to work, not the 25-minute route.
Yes.
And it begins with knowing that it's possible, that it's available, that the next level is available for you, that your desires matter, that your visions matter, that what you're inspired to bring into the world matters. And that anything that has showed up that has blocked that, get curious about it rather than resisting it. Because whatever you resist, you give power to. So instead of resisting it, we're going to invite it in. We're going to get curious. We're going to go, okay, what is your highest intention for me? What is your highest intention for my life? What are you intending to give me?
I love that. Yeah, without a doubt. And so that's what I thought maybe you'd be going, because we see it at, like, for example, in our practice, let's say someone has 70 pounds to lose. They know that if they lost that weight, they'd have more energy, they'd have less joint pain, less inflammation, all sorts of different things. However, everyone in their social circle might also be 60, 70, 100 pounds overweight, and they love to be able to go out to certain places which are not conducive to weight loss. And so, yeah, they want to lose the weight, but if they do, they're worried that they might lose their social circle of friends. And I've seen this hundreds of times in my practice. It could be not about that. It could be just getting healthy and they want to eliminate alcohol, but all their friends love to go out and drink. And if they don't drink, they might not be accepted. But they know they need to do it in order to get this, but the fear of loss of their friends is actually even greater than the fear of the success, the benefits of the success. So how I guide them, and I actually don't know if it's the best way, I would say is, listen, there is a better way. You're going to feel so much healthier, but also you're not going to know until you get there that you could also be the positive role model that would be able to maybe influence a positive thing in your other friend's life, or you may actually find something better in life even beyond that. Or is what I've done is I still go out, I still have a good time, but I don't necessarily need to have 6, 7 drinks of alcohol at a time. So what's the best way that you would recommend approaching that situation for those people?
I mean, it depends on the context. I like to approach a situation context specific. If someone is coming to me in a transformational course because they want a breakthrough in these areas, I would navigate that differently than if I was just having a conversation with someone maybe at a coffee shop, let's say, you know. So in a transformational context, I'm going to speak into the part of them that's been holding on to the old pattern. In other words, I could consciously and logically give them all the reasons why. But if they consciously, and that could work, that definitely could work. My approach is usually to relax the conscious mind enough to be able to speak into and uncover what it's ultimately giving them at the highest level, how it's serving them and how it's benefiting their life. And then I guide them through a process where they uncover for themselves new ways to meet that same highest intention. So how, like when you ask me the how, it's like I guide them through an inquiry. I guide them through an inquiry. I guide them through a journey of self-discovery. And in the journey of self-discovery, they come to, rather than me telling them all the things that are going to happen, I guide them through questions in a relaxed state for them to uncover the new ways at the highest level. And then from there, it just kind of, they come to a place of logical realization that creates a breakthrough themselves of like, well, of course I would let that go because what I would receive is so much more, is so much greater. And the moment that happens, then that's really the prerequisite to have lasting change happen. It's like every cell in their body's like, I'm ready to go right now.
So using the positive future projecting, the negative future projecting, like, listen, if you go on this path, this is going to be it. Positive future projecting is like, this is how great your life could be. And you get them so excited about that future vision of their life that it only makes sense. You would then want to take the steps in order to achieve that. Would you say that's...
I mean, I future pace them afterwards. I definitely have future pacing as part of my strategy, but this particular part of the strategy is I'm finding the highest positive intention of the old pattern and then guiding them through an elicitation to uncover new, better, healthy ways to meet the same highest positive intention. Then there's a congruent like alignment. Yes, I'm ready to let it go is what happens. Any holding on to that old pattern is released. And then from there, I can guide them through a process of, let's say, beginning to visualize what their life would look like, sound like, feel like. And if they're having difficulty visualizing, we can bring in models of possibility like you. We'll bring you in. And they can start imagining what it would look like, sound like, and feel like to live in this vital, energized, state of being. And then definitely future pace it. What you're talking about as far as going out into the future, that has immense value where they can literally go out. I call it a future memory. Go into a future memory and experience it as now. So you're experiencing the successful results in advance in consciousness as happening right now, where you're seeing it, hearing it, feeling it, not in the future, now. And that is a very powerful and effective strategy.
That makes total sense to me because I look at the subconscious as like a child. It's like you have to almost treat it sometimes like a little bit of a child, let it know that it's okay. And it's like I have two young girls. And so basically you're letting your child think that the idea was theirs. And you're kind of moving them in that direction because then they came up with this and then they see it as logical and then they take those next action steps. So I like that. That's fantastic.
And that's actually very accurate, is the subconscious mind is like an 8-year-old child. And it works on the process of deductive reasoning. And this is, before when we were chatting real quick, as we were getting ready to get started, we were talking about fears that show up for people. And when we look at where were these fears even imprinted, and we go to the early stages of childhood and we realize this is why we have compassion, for the subconscious mind, is that it works on the process of deductive reasoning. So if there's an imprint that's made in childhood, the subconscious mind comes up with all these reasons why that is true, even though it's not necessarily true. It's just finding examples through the virtue of that prime directive.
Yes. So I'm assuming the hypnotherapy part of it is to get them into that relaxed state. And even as a group, you can do that. Is that correct?
Yes. And that's really important because you want to drop them into a relaxed state. Because if they're in that beta brainwave frequency of just trying to figure something out, sometimes I joke with people and I'll have them pull up a chair because they've got all these questions. And I'm like, if the problem was stored consciously, you would have solved it before you met me.
Right.
So pull up a chair and let's put your conscious mind and sit it nice and comfy right there in that chair. And then when we're done with our transformational process, you can merge with your conscious mind. So I'll say that playfully and lovingly, right? Just to kind of create a spatial anchor for them to be willing to surrender for a moment and go through a process where they're allowed to be guided. And as I guide them through this process, they're in a heightened state of consciousness, actually. They're in a heightened state of awareness. And because they're in a heightened, relaxed state of consciousness, they're able to gather insights and learnings that they would otherwise miss in a anxious or stressed state.
I've had Elliot Rowe on before, who does NLP and hypnotherapy. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Elliot before, but because a lot of people are confused about hypnotherapy, and they know of stage hypnotherapy, which is like almost the direct opposite of what you're doing hypnotherapy in order to transform. Is that at no part during a hypnotherapy-based session are you ever not within control of your own thoughts or mind. You're simply, I would say, is like you're moving from fight or flight to more of the parasympathetic rest and relax, where then you can access more of these under the level of consciousness-based thoughts with the right almost examiner who can ask the right questions that you don't know to ask. Would that be fair to say?
That's accurate. You drop into a relaxed state that allows you to easily and naturally enter the operating system of your subconscious mind. Mm-hmm. Rather than trying to like battle it or try to get it to, beat it into submission, you just come into a relaxed state that allows you to enter in a heightened state of awareness. And I think what a lot of people, when they have concerns or they don't really have a full understanding yet, is that we go in and out of trance all the time. Trance-like states are naturally occurring states. So you could be in a car and you could be on your way to meet someone for an appointment, but you're used to driving home and you get off on the wrong exit because you were in a trance-like state. Mm-hmm. Or you go into a parenting trance, or all these different types of trances. So what we do is we guide you through a process of becoming, rather than just being susceptible to going in and out of trance, you have a heightened degree of sensory acuity and awareness to recognize when you're going into trances that do not serve you. And you have tools and techniques to interrupt those trances and literally wake up in the dream, if you will, and have tools. I love tools and I love techniques. And I think that's one of the things that really empowers people when they go through a journey. And it's not just like this epiphany of like this moment of instant enlightenment, right? They call it, there's a term called satori, instant awakening. In addition to that, I have tools, I have techniques. I can catch myself when I'm doing that thing that I used to be doing. And now I'm just not an autopilot anymore. There's awareness here. There's consciousness here. There's choice here. Even if in the beginning it might be a little tricky for some people because you've been used to going down that neural pathway for so long, awareness precedes transformation here. And all of these processes are designed to amplify choice.
And going back to the, basically the new neural pathways or what we're talking about before, I see it as if you are more of that type A individual, or just for the most people in general, when you're creating habit change, you're doing it through willpower. And willpower only lasts for so long, especially if you, as I say, fill up the rain barrel with a lot of other stress. It's very difficult to say, okay, I'm still going to go to the gym at 5 o'clock tonight, when you've got a million other things to do, whatever it might be. But when you're working at a subconscious level, instead of using the word neural pathways, like we're literally building new roads. To kind of go back to your example before, is like, yeah, you might be the 25-minute road, but no, we're going to build a 12-minute one. We're going to actually we're going to go in and recode the system, to use more computer terms. And I actually see the subconscious as more like coding. We're literally just changing our viewpoints so that you don't have to use willpower. I've just I almost, like you said earlier, raise your standards. I consider them just kind of like rules to live by. So when people ask me like, hey, do you want to do this? And I'm just like, no, I can't. Like, that's not something I do. Like, do you want to go out? Like, oh, the show ends at 1 a.m. I'm like, I don't stay out till 1 a.m. Like, I can't do that. So unless it's like something that's really important or really powerful, no, because I know what it does for the next day or two. So when you're talking about working on the subconscious level, do you see this? What was the name again? Was it Sephora?
Satori is a moment of instant awakening. The word that comes to me when I think of of really communicating with the subconscious is alignment. Mm-hmm. It's creating a sense of inner alignment where it's like all of you is on the same page.
Yes.
Where with willpower, it's like sometimes all of you is not on the same page. You're willing yourself into doing something, but there's a part of you that doesn't want to do it. That's kind of like what willpower sometimes presupposes. Like a part of me wants to, part of me doesn't. Mm-hmm. Well, rather than being, I believe in transcending those polarized states and then uncovering, okay, well, rather than, part of you wants to, part of you doesn't, resisting that part. And I'm going to rise to the occasion and I'm going to be victorious because I have willpower. I'm going to get curious about why I'm going to give a voice to the part that sometimes a person doesn't want to give a voice to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, giving a voice to that inner child, that 8-year-old that wants to be heard. And I think that's a great way to think about it.
Yes. And I love that because sometimes people want to silence those inner voices because they have the willpower and the discipline. And then it manifests in other ways that are not healthful for them that sometimes you don't see immediately, but you'll see more long-term. So I'm about liberation. That's my life's work. It's about walking the path of liberation and giving it a voice and then finding the highest intention because I know it has a higher intention. And the moment we can uncover new ways that are creative and healthy to meet those higher intentions, then you don't need the willpower, you're inspired. Now it's not about willpower, it's about inspiration. Now I'm inspired. I get to, I choose to, I will, I am. Not I have to, I need to, I must, I should. Your language changes. It's revealed in your communication.
I love the get to because that's a big part of it. I feel like alignment is what starts it. You're in alignment. Okay, now you know what you're supposed to be doing. You believe that you should and you feel you should. And so then you start to take inspired action. Like a lot of people don't understand people that wake up at 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m. and they have energy and they're ready to start the day. It's really because people talk about passion, but it's really like, no, this is what you're inspired to do because you're in total alignment that this is what you were meant to do in your life. And that's really how I look at it. And I think a lot of people don't understand how they got there, but it's probably from listening really to that inner subconscious saying, this is really what we want. And if it's healthy, maybe talking to it a bit more and saying, okay, let's do a little bit more of it. So my question I had for you there was, and in your practice, do you see the transformation happen over weeks and months, or is it an instant transformation for the most part?
It depends. I've seen and been part of both ways. It really depends. Again, context is so huge where someone is in their life. I mean, sometimes somebody is in a place where they are like calling in change and they're calling it in now and it's going to happen now. And it's amazing how when you are ready for transformation, how rapidly that phoenix rises within you. Yes. And then what happens is then there's also a deeper integration that will happen over time as they settle into this transformation and go back out into their life. And then they navigate experiences where in the past, it would have caused them to react or would have caused them to show up in a different way. But now those things happen and they're in a heightened state of awareness. And they're like, well, what's going on? And the people around them are noticing that. And then how they relate to those people and those, changing circumstances and how that influences their continual journey of transformation. So I definitely see, when somebody is all in and they've transcended secondary gain, they're like ready to go. Transformation can happen in a heartbeat. Yes. Very, very, very quickly. And then there's that integration over time, especially as you go back to the experiences of your life. In our courses, I say we love to test our work. We'll just send you home to like your parents and your family.
That's the big test. Yeah, right. No, I think that's good. What I've seen, and again, I don't know if you've seen the same, is the greater the pain, the greater the urgency, potentially the bigger the enlightenment moment, like the bigger that transformation moment and faster, because like you have this like bottling up. And for the people like, oh, it would be nice for this to happen. I would like for this to happen, but it doesn't have to happen. Sometimes that takes longer. At least that, again, that's what I've seen. I haven't worked with.
You're absolutely right. Because when somebody hits that moment of threshold, they're like, change has to happen. It has to happen right now.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that it's not available in other contexts. It's just those are the ripe conditions.
Do you think it opens the subconscious to a greater degree, and that's why you're able to change it faster? What do you think about that? I mean, does like the source code just open at that time, and you can hard program it or hardwire it faster?
I mean, it'd be interesting to take a look at all of that from a scientific perspective, for sure. I would venture to say that when a person gets to that point, you reach a level of transcendence. There is no belief that it is not. There is no concern that it isn't. There is just a knowing, like a full-on congruent, like all of you is on the same page. So there's the magic that happens when your being, your intention, your beliefs, your vibration, your frequency, your identity, as we were talking about earlier, is all like in the knowing that is the declaration, the living of that. So yes. It'd be very interested to see what happens with your neurochemistry when you're in that state of consciousness. I've had plenty of those moments, and they're magic moments.
Yeah, I can only imagine what the brain looks like lit up, as well as those neurotransmitters under, that type of state of high emotion, where, I think you'd be more suggestive, maybe not to change, but to openness to change. And then because like, hey, life can't go on like this. And I think you also start to question life in general, like this is not what life is supposed to be. And like it starts to break down a lot of those 8-year-old barriers. But I think
even sometimes when you're ready to quantum leap to the next level, I see it also, not just that you're quantum leaping out of something that you're ready to transform, but like when you're calling in the next level of your creation or the next level of your like magnum opus of your life.
Yes.
Whatever that is for you, and this is the power of really lifting our desires, being clear with what is it that's seeking to express itself. As my dear friend Michael Beckwith says, what is it that's seeking to express itself through you?
Oh, that's great. What would you say? So working with hundreds of thousands of people, there's probably some, core assimilations that you can make that this one thing or these couple of things are really the habits that are not allowing people to even get to the point where they would do a transformative based event or coaching or this type of work. Like what's holding people back from even, so it's my belief, I'm gonna give it to you, put it another way. So I truly believe that if someone comes to us with high blood pressure, cardiovascular issues, type 2 diabetes, autoimmune, digestive issues, you name it, no matter what it is, we're going to be able to figure it out and fix it. Like there's just no doubt about it. So, and I'm sure you feel the same way with transforming people's lives through doing the work that you're doing. But that doesn't mean that everybody with those issues is actually going to come and see us in our practice or see you. So what are the things that hold people back from a psychology-based perspective that doesn't allow them to make that step in the first place?
It's usually an expression of fear. Fear in some way, shape, or form.
Going back to what we were talking about before, the secondary part to it?
Well, there's fears that are often subconscious that have unique ways of expressing themselves. Like one fear that I see, it's surprising how often I see it, even with people that you would look and they've accomplished extraordinary, outstanding results in the eyes of the world in a balanced way in the areas of life that are most important to most of us, in their relationships, in their business ventures, in their mind, in their body, in all these different areas. But one is this fear of not enoughness in some way, shape, or form, not being enough, not being good enough, not having enough. That's one of the things that, when you ask what stops people, and these are, because consciously it doesn't make any sense. So your conscious mind comes in, is like, well, that doesn't make any sense. So I'm just going to push that down over here. But subconsciously, there's a lurking of these fears that show up as a fear of criticism, fear of rejection. Well, why is there a fear of that? It's because if, what this means, the meaning that is often given to those really, there's thought structures. So fear of, that's why a big part of my life's work is guiding people to uncover what are these fears and how can you learn from them and wipe them out. And obviously there's some fears that are beneficial. So we know that, it's good to have a fear that prevents you from touching a hot stove, or that, causes you to look both ways before you cross a busy street. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about irrational fears, or fears from the past that get projected onto the present, that cause a person to hold back or to not step forward or not own their voice or to powerfully move forward in their life.
Feelings of unworthiness coming out as certain fears or something like that.
And it's amazing how often that, shows up and blocks people. So again, one of the things that I know to be true is that there's a learning or a gift, something that's buried within that obstacle that once uncovered will be a liberating experience. And that's that liberation with a new integrated wisdom, a new higher level of wisdom. And this is a huge breakthrough moment for so many people.
So I want to start to talk a bit about your events and how you really make all of this happen with people, and how I think one of the nice things that you do is that you'll make the event niched. So it will help a specific person going through a specific issue, or I should say issue, I'd say taking their life to the next level in whatever area that they're looking for. But before we get to that, because I don't like to leave things unresolved with someone not able to take action today, what's one action that you believe that you've seen the vast majority of people take, that if they did that one thing, then it would lead to then a cascading of being able to open up to even more? So what's one thing that people could do today?
What's one thing that they could do right now to empower their lives?
100%, yes.
Okay. I just did a talk on this yesterday for my dear friend, John Asroff. He asked me to speak to one of his groups.
We just had John on last week. So
did you?
Is a good
so I just did a session yesterday for his achievers, and we did it on the power of questions. And that's a very tangible, specific tool that you can take with you, is be aware of the questions that you're asking, not just others, but of yourself. What questions are you asking yourself? And how can you ask yourself questions that contain momentum, right? That presuppose, that contain energy in the direction that you're inspired to go. So a lot of times people will wake up and be like, oh, what do I have to do today? That's not the most inspiring question. So be aware and be mindful of the questions that you're asking, and ask questions that inspire and empower you. Got
it. So it'd be more like, what do I get to do today?
What am I inspired to do today? What is the ultimate result that I'm most inspired to create? How can I powerfully bring my gifts into the world right now, today, in a way that creates value and beauty and prosperity? Who do I know that I can align with to take this result to the next level right now?
Love it. It's fantastic. Yep, absolutely. Quality of the questions are going to dictate your day, right? And
quality of your life will mirror the quality of your questions.
That's fantastic. So tell us a bit now about, now that luckily we're open back up, we've been going to events, at least I've been going to events the past 4 weeks or so. And it's just been you almost forget, because I'm someone that travels once or twice a month, speaking at events or attending events myself, the energy that comes with being around other like-minded people, not just other people, being around other people is great, but other like-minded people that all share the same goals and desires is pretty powerful. So tell us a bit about your events and which ones you think that might be the most beneficial for people listening here.
Definitely. Well, we have a number of different events that each have a unique purpose. I have one coming up right now that we talked about briefly, Neogenesis, which is all about creating a new beginning in any area of your life that's important to you. It's a 4-day journey of personal transformation that goes to the root of whatever has blocked you and releases that and literally realigns your vision, your values, your sense of self with the highest expression of who you really are. It's like people describe their life before Neogenesis and after Neogenesis. It's that transformational. So that's coming up. And then we have our women's empowerment event. We can't wait. That's our 3-day women's empowerment. Ladies who are listening, sisters, you're going to love this 3-day journey of the divine feminine. It is a transformational gathering of sisterhood. And it is a juicy event that explores the different aspects of who we are as women in business and who we are as women with our families and with our community and with our lover and with our partners and with our friends and in all the areas of our life that are meaningful to us. So that's going to be coming up. And then we have my signature course, SIA, Supreme Influence in Action. You briefly mentioned NLP. So that is about giving you the greatest tool belt and toolbox of techniques, not only for your own transformation, also to guide and empower others. And I won't get into the next level of all of these. Each one of these courses have like the next level. Once you graduate, you get to go to the master's level. And then one experience that I can't wait to open up again is I've been taking groups to Bali, Indonesia, which has been on hiatus, on a sacred adventure of a lifetime through the land of over 1 million temples. So as soon as the borders are open and it's safe to travel and the weather is good, we'll be rocking out the Bali sacred adventure.
That sounds amazing. Yes.
Yeah, there's a few others, but it's like all of, when you've been creating these experiences for 21 years and you see the results it has in people's lives, it just inspires you to create. Most of my courses were created because graduates came back and said, will you teach us how to do this? So for example, that's how my transformational coaching program started, just people that wanted to take their coaching skills to a level of mastery. So...
Well, the more people we have coaching and teaching, the better. We do the same with our IHPs. It's like, you're one person. You can reach so many people, which is great. But there's about 8 billion people on Earth. And I say the more voices that are saying the same thing, hopefully that begins to ring true in more people's ears. And so that's always the goal. And your events sound, absolutely fantastic. And I think there's a big part. You got to come
be with us. Come join us. Come join us for one of our upcoming events. I'd love to have you with us.
It sounds great. And one of the things with just because not a lot of people have been to actual live events. I'm someone that's always enjoyed them, but I just want to let people know that it's just very different than being at a virtual based event. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's great that we have the ability to even learn online, but when you're there in person, I believe that there's greater change that can take place because you are immersed and there's one intention. And the one intention is you're there for the 3 days or 4 days or whatever it might be. And you're around, again, the same energy, the same group of people that are looking to experience that as well. So I think it's pretty phenomenal. And so I have no doubt that all these new events coming out for you that are now opening, are these the first ones opening after the pandemic?
Well, we still have virtual events that are still happening. Yes. And it's been a blessing to have the virtual events also because we've had people from around the world that have been able to plug in ways that they wouldn't have been able to in the past. Yes. So that's happening. And then we do have our trajectory of live events that we're now rolling out. So it's a combination of what's going on. with virtual and live. But I hear you. I've been in the live events business for decades. So
Yes.
I definitely know the power of these live events.
And I hope that all the borders do open up. And of course, everyone will do their best. We had to reschedule ours last year from last September to hopefully this September, but we'll see if that actually happens. But it's just a different level. And again, learn however you can. But if you're able to experience that, I have no doubt that it will absolutely be worth it. Love to give you the chance right now to impart just a little bit more wisdom on our community here. Any last words that you'd like to share with us?
Last words. I would invite everyone who's listening to know that you have a unique gift. There is something rare and special and unique about you that no one on the planet has. And as you powerfully step forward into your gift and shine your light and bring that, out, like unleash your gift, that this is going to create the space that's going to elevate everyone around you, your loved ones, your family, your children, your community members, and ultimately our world. And it's my joy. It is a deep joy and a deep honor to be here with you, Stephen, and to be by your side. And I'd love to hear your stories. Share with me about your stories of transformation and what you've learned and what you've discovered. And I know that you're destined to accomplish extraordinary things. That's what's brought us together. And I'm celebrating you right by your side.
It's amazing. Yeah, absolutely. And I hope that people do not just listen to these words that you've shared today, but really begin to take their life to that next level for whatever step they feel is right for them. How can people learn more about your work?
Come over to our website and follow me on social media. So the website is niurkainc.com. So it's www.niurkainc.com. There's also a gift there, so you can join our community, get our newsletters. And then also you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Niurka Inc. At Niurka Inc.
We will link all of that up for sure at the show notes here today. Real pleasure having you on. Thank you so much. And we hope to have you back on in the future soon.
I love that. Wonderful being with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's show. And you know that what I love to do on a weekly basis is to see if we can come up with some new opportunities for you to be able to save while at the same time get the very best functional medicine-based products in the world. And I mean that all of these products are third-party tested. They are made in the United States and they come from the very best ingredients. And this week, what we have for you is the opportunity, the ability to get 2 bags of the daily fruit and vegetable blends. So our very best 22 organic fruits and vegetables that have been literally juiced and dehydrated and put in their purest form right in this bag for you from 22 organic fruits and vegetables and superfoods. And you get that in their brand new containers, a low waste based bag. People have loved the daily nutritional support bags so much that we wanted to do the same for the daily fruit and vegetable blend. So now you can get these nice low waste based bags, easy to travel with. Plus we're giving you a completely free eco glass container. That means that you get this glass container with beautiful etching on it of the EcoLife logos of the 2 circles coming together to form dynamic equilibrium, balance, unity. You get that with its bamboo airtight cover, so totally sustainable, eco-friendly, looks great on your countertop. Purchase 2 daily fruit and vegetable blends. Remember, 22 organic fruits and vegetables, a rainbow of colors. There's no way that you could eat all of this in a day. All of these different colors, all of these different fruits and vegetables and superfoods. You get 2 bags, and what we do is we ship you a glass eco canister completely free to put that right on your counter so that you know it's there each and every day to keep your healthy regimen going. For this great offer, head on over to equi.life. That's eco.life for this exclusive offer. Take care, everyone.